Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a topic that I know a lot of you are really interested in, and that's the world of diabetes management and all the advancements happening right now. Specifically, we're going beyond A1C and looking at time in range, or as you'll hear us say a lot, TIR.
And we're really going to focus on how these connected continuous glucose monitors, or CGMs, are changing the game.
So you're already pretty familiar with these advancements,
Right.
but let's unpack why this shift is such a big deal.
What's really fascinating is that we're moving away from just like a static snapshot of your glucose control,
Right.
and we're going towards like a dynamic understanding of how do your glucose levels actually fluctuate throughout the day. And, A1C has been like the go-to measurement for years,
Right.
but we're starting to see more and more just how limited it really is.
Yeah, I've always thought of it as like an average over time.
Exactly.
But how does that limited view, how does that affect our ability to actually manage diabetes well?
You know, it's kind of like trying to navigate a city with only one aerial photo. You get a sense of the layout, but you miss all the important details like one-way streets or traffic or detours.
Sure.
A1C doesn't reveal the daily ups and downs of your glucose levels, which those little fluctuations can really impact your health over time.
So we're missing the detours in our glucose journey.
Exactly.
What impact can these hidden fluctuations have on our health long term?
Well, you can have two people with the same A1C,
Okay.
but vastly different experiences.
Okay.
One person might have really stable glucose levels within a healthy range,
Right.
and the other might be swinging high and low all the time.
Wow.
Even if it averages out to a decent A1C, all those swings, those can lead to complications down the road, like eye problems,
Right.
kidney problems, even heart issues.
That's eye-opening for sure. So it's not just about how we feel in the moment, it's about protecting our health in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how does time and range, this TIR, how does it help us really grasp these variations in our glucose levels?
Well, TIR gives us a much more detailed look. It tells us how much time your glucose spends within the target range, usually between 70 and 180 milli-GDL.
Okay.
So instead of just a simple average,
Right.
it tells us what percentage of the time you're in that sweet spot. And it also shows how often and for how long you go above or below that range.
So it's like a detailed logbook of our glucose throughout the day. We can actually see those peaks and valleys.
Exactly, precisely. And the exciting part is that this level of detail helps us create much more personalized and proactive diabetes management plans.
Okay.
We can start to identify patterns, like maybe you see your glucose spike after certain meals, or maybe it always dips in the afternoon.
Yeah.
This lets you make targeted changes, like adjusting your diet,
Okay.
exercise, or medication to get better control.
So it sounds like TIR shifts our focus from just reacting to highs and lows to understanding the why behind them so we can be more proactive.
Exactly, that's the goal. And this shift is driving the development of all these new tools like connected CGMs. These devices go beyond just measuring your glucose. They give you a constant stream of data showing those all-important fluctuations, and they generate really detailed reports to help us make sense of it all.
So it's like having a GPS for our glucose.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And these connected CGMs,
Okay.
they generate something called an ambulatory glucose profile, or an AGP report. Basically, imagine a visual map of your glucose levels over time so you can see those peaks and dips and trends.
Wow.
This personalized roadmap allows you and your healthcare provider to fine-tune your diabetes management in a much more precise way.
I see how these patterns can help us make more targeted adjustments.
Right.
But beyond just the numbers, what does the shift to TIR and connected CGMs actually mean for someone who's living with diabetes every day?
Well, I think it boils down to moving from a reactive approach to a proactive one.
Okay.
So instead of feeling like you're constantly chasing your glucose levels,
Okay.
you're actually in the driver's seat. You can make informed decisions based on real-time data, and that can lead to less stress, better control, and ultimately a greater sense of freedom and empowerment in managing your health.
That makes a lot of sense. We've been talking about how time and range, that TIR, really gives us a more detailed look at glucose control than A1C by itself.
Right.
But can we dig a little deeper into like the why behind TIR?
That's okay.
Why is spending more time in that target range so important for our health?
It all comes down to minimizing the damage that these glucose fluctuations can do to your body. When your glucose levels are constantly too high or too low,
Okay.
it puts a lot of stress on your organs and blood vessels. You can think of it like driving a car. If you're constantly slamming on the gas and then hitting the brakes,
Okay.
you're going to wear down the engine a lot faster.
That makes sense.
And the same is true for your body with these glucose swings.
So these fluctuations really do create wear and tear on our bodies over time.
Yeah, for sure.
What are some of the long-term consequences of this kind of damage, especially for people with diabetes?
Well, it's linked to a whole range of complications. Take diabetic retinopathy, for instance.
Okay.
When your glucose levels are high, it can damage those tiny blood vessels in the back of your eye,
Okay.
and that can lead to vision loss.
Oh, wow.
Studies show that there's a strong connection between lower time in range and a higher risk of developing this condition.
So it's not just about feeling okay right now, it's about protecting our eyesight for the future.
Exactly.
What about other possible complications?
Yeah.
I know kidney damage is a big concern with diabetes.
Absolutely. High glucose can also damage the kidney's filtering system, and this can lead to something called diabetic nephropathy.
Okay.
One of the early signs of this is something called microalbuminuria.
Microalbuminuria.
Yeah, where small amounts of proteins start leaking into your urine.
So is that like a red flag?
It is, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a warning sign that something might be off with your kidneys.
Got it.
And research has actually found that lower time in range is linked to a higher risk of developing this microalbuminuria.
Wow.
So even if someone's A1C looks good on paper, if they're spending a lot of time outside of that target range, it could be putting their kidneys at risk, even if they don't realize it.
That's really concerning. It highlights why it's so important to look beyond just the average and really pay attention to how much time our glucose is spending within that healthy range.
Exactly.
And this is where those connected CGMs become so valuable, right?
They are.
They give us that constant stream of data so we can try to make those adjustments and stay in range more often and potentially lower the risk of these complications.
Yeah, they can be incredibly helpful for that.
It's like having a co-pilot on this journey with diabetes, helping us stay on course for a healthier future.
That's a great analogy.
And let's not forget the impact on just day-to-day life. Connected CGMs give us a sense of freedom and control that we just don't get with the older methods.
I agree.
I'm curious about that. How do they actually change what it's like to manage diabetes on a daily basis?
Well, imagine not having to prick your finger multiple times a day anymore.
Oh.
With a CGM, you don't have to do that. It's just so much more discreet and less intrusive way to monitor your glucose.
Yeah, that would be a game changer for sure. No more painful finger pricks and no more feeling self-conscious about testing in public. It must make such a difference in terms of comfort and convenience.
It really does.
Plus, they give us that constant stream of information, right?
Yes.
So we can make smarter decisions throughout the day.
Exactly. You can see how your glucose responds to different meals and activities
Okay.
and even stress levels.
So it's like having a detective
Yeah,
helping us solve the mysteries of our own bodies. That's got to be really empowering to have that kind of knowledge.
absolutely. And that empowerment can lead to better control over your diabetes.
Okay.
And as we've talked about, better control can mean a lower risk of all those long-term complications. It's a positive cycle where data leads to better decisions, and better decisions lead to better health.
It sounds like connected CGMs help people go from just managing diabetes to really thriving with it.
That's the goal.
We've talked a lot about the upsides of these connected systems, but are there any drawbacks? What about the cost and whether everyone can access them?
You're right. Those are important considerations. Connected CGMs have traditionally been a significant investment,
Right.
and insurance coverage can sometimes be a hurdle.
Yeah.
But the landscape is definitely shifting.
Okay.
We're seeing more affordable options becoming available.
Okay.
And as technology continues to advance, I think the prices will likely continue to come down.
So access is improving, and hopefully these systems will become even more available in the future.
I hope so too.
Uh,
And even if a connected CGM isn't an option for someone right now, there are still ways to learn about their time and range.
oh, interesting. What can someone do if they're not using a connected CGM but still want to understand those glucose fluctuations?
Well, they can be more strategic with their traditional blood glucose monitoring.
Oh, okay.
So instead of just testing at the same times every day,
Okay.
try testing at different times, like before and after meals.
Oh, that's a good idea. So just being more proactive and observant with how we test. What kind of information can we get from that?
You'll start to notice patterns. You might see that your glucose spikes consistently after certain foods or dips at certain times of day.
Okay.
And that knowledge can help you make changes to your diet, activity, or even the timing of your medication.
So it's like creating our own personalized glucose map,
Right.
even without all the fancy tech.
Exactly. It might not be as detailed or as continuous as the data from a CGM, but it's still really useful for understanding your individual patterns and making more informed choices.
This is great advice for anyone living with diabetes. It really emphasizes that knowledge is power, and we can all take steps to understand our glucose fluctuations better, no matter what tools we have. So we've explored A1C and really dug into the power of time and range.
Well, yeah,
But what about the technology itself? The world of those connected CGMs is changing so fast.
it is.
What advancements are you most excited about?
Oh, there's so much happening. It's really an exciting time. I think the future of CGMs is going way beyond just, simple glucose monitoring.
Okay.
We're moving towards systems that give us personalized insights and even automate some parts of diabetes management.
It sounds almost like science fiction.
It does, a little bit, yeah.
Can you give us a peek into what these advancements might look like?
Well, imagine a CGM that doesn't just track your glucose, but it also integrates with other health data,
Oh, wow.
like your heart rate, sleep patterns, activity levels, all of that.
Okay.
And then AI algorithms could analyze all that information and actually give you recommendations,
Wow.
personalized recommendations on how to best manage your diabetes.
So instead of just seeing numbers on a screen, we could get tailored advice on how to adjust our diet or exercise or meds, all based on our own individual patterns and lifestyle.
Exactly, that's the idea.
Yeah.
And some systems are already starting to incorporate those predictive algorithms.
Yeah.
So they can warn you about a potential low blood sugar, hours before it even happens.
Oh, wow.
So you can take steps to prevent it.
That could be a game changer, especially for someone who's prone to those dangerous lows. What about automating insulin delivery? I've heard about this artificial pancreas. Is that actually becoming a reality?
It's getting closer all the time.
Yeah.
These closed-loop systems, they combine a CGM with an insulin pump,
Okay.
and it automatically adjusts the insulin dose based on those real-time glucose readings.
Wow.
It's still being developed.
Right.
But early studies are showing it could really improve time and range
Right.
and really lessen the burden of, constantly having to monitor your glucose.
I can see how that level of automation could totally transform diabetes management,
Hmm.
especially for people with type 1. But even with all this amazing technology, it seems like there must be challenges too, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe even some ethical things to think about.
For sure. One of the big ones is data privacy.
Yeah.
As these systems get more integrated into our lives,
Right.
we have to make sure that sensitive health information is protected. We need strong security measures in place.
And access and affordability, we've talked about that. How do we make sure that everyone benefits from these advances?
That's a really important point. As this technology gets better and better, we need to advocate for policies that make it accessible to everyone. We can't let cost be a barrier to better health.
That's so crucial. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. What's the most important takeaway you'd like our listeners to leave with?
I hope they feel empowered. The way we manage diabetes is evolving so quickly.
Right.
And knowledge really is power in this area. Embrace time and range, look into those connected CGMs, and most importantly, be an active participant in your own health.
That's great advice. This has been such a fascinating look at how technology and a better understanding of those glucose fluctuations are changing the game for diabetes management.
It has.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the world of time and range and connected CGMs.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
To all our listeners, until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep striving for a healthier, more empowered life.